Traditional sear versus reverse sear. What's your favorite way to cook steak? Hey everybody, it's Rhoda. I'm here in the MadeIN studio, and today I'm answering the age-old question, traditional sear versus reverse sear. Can you spot the difference? I'm going to show you how to cook each one, and then I'll taste them side by side and decide which one I like better. Okay, the first method we're going to try is just a traditional sear. That involves getting your pan ripping hot, searing your steak on both sides, and I'm going to hit the fat around the sides as well. And then I'm going to finish it in the oven to get it to the temperature that I want. I'm using a carbon steel frying pan because it's really good at searing. It's a lot like cast iron in that you can get it really, really hot, and then I can transfer it to the oven. I'm starting this steak over medium-high heat, and I'm going to cook it for about 3 minutes per side. Then I'm going to sear some of the fat all the way around so it can render. And I love using carbon steel to sear steaks because it can help me develop a really nice sear. And it's really heat responsive. So if I feel like my pan's getting too hot, or if it's getting a little too cold, I can adjust the heat and the pan will respond really quickly. Even after just 3 minutes on one side, it's already developing a nice crust. I think this is on its way to being a great steak. I'm gonna render the fat on the sides just because this is so thick that the heat's not really creeping all the way up, and it'll just be more enjoyable to eat. The steak's at about 105, 110, so I'm just gonna transfer it to the oven to finish cooking to about 120, 125. The steak's gonna go in the oven at 400 degrees for maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Now I'm gonna show you the reverse sear. The reverse sear is basically the opposite of what the traditional sear is. The reason why you would reverse sear a steak is that it's going to cook the interior very evenly. It's kind of similar to sous vide in that you can cook the interior temperature to basically exactly what you want it to be. Then I'm going to finish it by doing a quick hot sear just to trigger the Maillard reaction and give it a brown crust. I have it on a cooling rack set over a sheet tray, and that's just to help the air circulate. I'm going to use a probe thermometer and just insert it into the steak here. I think the reverse sear is a really cool method because it's very foolproof for trying to hit that ideal internal temperature. You're cooking it really slowly, so you have a lot of room for error. All right, into a 250-degree oven, and I'm gonna let it go until it gets to be about 115 degrees, which might take anywhere between 40 minutes to an hour with a steak this size. Okay, my probe is telling me that we've reached 115 degrees for the reverse sear steak, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out of the oven and remove the probe. So as you can see, it's kind of a weird purpley gray color, so it needs a quick sear to develop that brown crust. I know this is almost to temperature, so I need to be really careful right now. And now I'm searing the sides a little bit just to render some of the fat and crisp it up. Traditional seared versus reverse seared, which one tastes better? With the traditional seared steak, I see a little bit more of crust formation. The reverse sear doesn't have a crust that's developed quite as much. Seems pretty bouncy, and the crust is not quite as developed. I'm gonna cut these down the middle and see if I can make any observations about the interior. I cooked these to the same internal temperature, but you can really see a difference where we have that thicker crust and more of a band of cooked meat, and then this one is really tender. Oh my gosh, it's almost falling apart, and it's really wall-to-wall pink. All right, I'm gonna try the traditional sear first. Really rich beefy flavor, and the crust is really nice. I love a crispy, crunchy crust on steak. Okay, now I'm gonna try the reverse sear. It's really, really tender. It's almost like a perfectly cooked roast beef or something like that. Can't really taste the crust quite as much. Which one do I like better? It's really hard to choose. I think I'm gonna have to go with the traditional sear, is what I'm looking for in a steak. It takes less time. It has that crispy, crunchy exterior. It still tastes really beefy inside, just what I expect when I'm eating a steak. The reverse sear is lovely. It reminds me more of roast beef, just because the crust is not as well developed and it's very, very tender. Let me know in the comments below how you like your steak. I'm Rhoda Boone. I'm in the MadeIN studio, and I'll see you next time.